Hey guys, armbar from side mount. So now let's take a look at a great side mount attack that we can do. When we've gotten to the position after passing their guard, we want to maintain that spot, and we can use this attack to finish the fight. Let's take a look. Alright, so we're going to be working on a straight arm lock like we've seen before from the mount and other positions. We're going to be starting this from the side mount. So if you don't know about the side mount, let's just go through our checklist really quick to make sure we have the proper position. First things first, I want to be sitting on the side of my partner, one knee next to their shoulder, the other knee next to their hip. I'm going to take my arm that's closest to their head, and I'm going to go underneath their head to control it. My other arm is going to do an underhook, meaning I go under his shoulder, and then I grab my hands together. I always want to keep my chest on top of my partner's chest. So if his arms are in the way, when I go to this position, I can just pull his arms off and then come down to the position. So to attack this far arm, I first need to control his shoulder. I'm going to be taking my arm out from under his head, coming underneath, and controlling his shoulder with both of my arms on one side of his body. Now I'm going to pull my partner towards me so that I get him up on his side. I moved my knees back a little bit just so that he's not laying on my legs and I have more space to pull him. Now once I have him up here, I want to make sure I keep a good tight position. I don't want to be high up here like this. And I also am not holding onto his elbow. Again, I'm holding onto his shoulder because this is going to control his arm better. I'm using my ear to keep his arm pinched. Now I'm going to be stepping my left leg over his head, whichever leg is closest. In this case, it's going to be my left leg. I'm going to step over. As I step, I can put my hand on the mat for balance, or I can put my hand on his head for balance as well. As soon as I step over, I'm going to be in a squat position the whole rest of the arm bar. So I'm not going to let my knees touch the ground at any point. I'm going to take my left hand and grab a hold of his belt. This is going to help me stabilize myself as I start to sit down. As I rotate to my right side to get my hips underneath his elbow, I'm going to start to tuck my toes underneath his belt as I squat down. Once I'm in this position, I can start to sit my hips straight down, controlling his belt to help reduce the impact of my fall. Again, I'm controlling his belt to make it so that I can sit down easier, and also it makes it so that I can help keep his hips stable so he can't start turning his hips away. Now I'm going to start to attack the arm from this position. I can let go of the belt at this point, controlling the wrist with one hand. I bring it to my shoulder. My knees are going to squeeze together, so nice and tight. This creates a platform in between my legs. I can then bring my other hand up as I start to lay back and pull his arm down as my hips elevate to the sky. All right, let's take a look at your arm bar from the side mount. We'll do it from another perspective. I'll turn around. Pay close attention to what my feet are doing because I always want to make sure I'm staying on my toes. So there's two options. You can either be on your laces or you can be on your toes. So what I mean by this is my shoelaces down on the mat. We don't want to do this because I don't really have good push. If my shoelaces are down here, I can't push off of anything. So we want to be on our toes, meaning the balls of my feet are touching the ground. So I get to my side mount position. I'm going to start to attack his shoulder. I hug. I walk my knees back. I pull him up. I start to step over his head. I'm going to grab onto his belt. I turn around, and notice neither of my knees are touching the mat. I'm not necessarily sitting on his head, but I'm just kind of squatting above him. I'm going to sit down right behind him. Now, I make sure I keep my knees nice and pinched. I control the wrist. When I'm controlling the wrist, that allows me to move if his elbow starts to move. Bring his hand to my shoulder, start to squeeze as I lay back. When you're doing this in practice, go really slow. Make sure that you keep your knees off the ground and finish nice and slowly. We'll do it one more time, a little bit fuller speed. We'll go this way. And this is your arm bar from the side mount position.